Okay, now I get to officially welcome to the stage for another time, Miss Mia Tepper, and it's a great honor to have you back. So Mia is a happily married mom of 4 children who has found the secret to balancing the demands of raising a family while working and volunteering. Mia is also a published author who finds her creative passion in writing, hopes her current book, Parenting Pressures and Pleasures, Tips for Each Stage in Your Child's Life, will help families with the daily challenges of parenting at each stage of life raising children. The motivation for writing her book came after she went to a top 10 MBA program to expand her business skills, realizing that she gained many helpful tips to help parents find balance as they juggle the demands of a busy life.
I spent one entire year trying to.
Sorry about that.
And after 365 days,
I inadvertently hit my phone, so sorry about that, Mia. Mia starts every day with a workout, meditates twice per week, and gets re-energized traveling with her family. Welcome to the stage.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here, and it's great to see so many familiar faces and names on here. I've been on all day, so those of you who have been speakers, let's see, and here we've got Debbie and Bettina, and let me see who else is maybe a speaker that's in the room.
Sally. Art.
So it's been another wonderful day, and I'm always so honored to be a part of the group here because it's just an amazing group of people. So if you haven't joined the membership yet, definitely consider it, and we're here for questions if you have anything you want to know. But what I would love to share with you today is a chapter from my book, and Bettina introduced it so lovely, so thank you for doing that. And as she said, I started this book when I was in business school. I was at UCLA Anderson running a family business, so I was the chief operating officer and having a family of 4. Now, I do have a husband, so I do have to give him credit. It's not that I did it all by myself, but a lot of people were asking me, how did I do this? How did I have 4 kids, go to business school, and run the family business and volunteer and keep my smile? So I was writing some tips on it, and then I morphed it during COVID. This is my COVID baby, to a book, because I realized watching people that there's a lot of people struggling out there today raising families. And I thought, we have done, we've just had such, joy raising our children. And we thought, well, maybe if I write a book, maybe this can help other people to have a more joyous experience. And per the writing coach, I don't think he's in the room right now, but you've all heard Patrick Snow today, and he's also my writing coach, which is actually how I met Bettina. And Patrick had a great idea that you make the book 49% your examples and 51% other people's. So my offer is real that after I share a few ideas, I would love to hear some family traditions that you have around the holidays, or even just not holidays, family traditions that you think are special. And I'd like to add them into my book. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into a couple of things that we've done. Some are not holiday related, and then some are. So the first thing is that when I was growing up as a kid, we always had Sunday brunch after we went to church. And it was really a great time to be together. And I grew up in a big family of 17 children. Yes, I hope you're all sitting down. That is what I said, 17 children. So it's a blended family, and, we would pile out of the car and into a restaurant, or we'd have a big Sunday brunch at home. So that was a neat tradition that I grew up with that I liked. And so when our kids are home, we're empty nesters now, but when they are home, that's still something we love to do, have a special Sunday brunch. Now, something that we never did growing up is have breakfast in bed on our birthday. So when we had our children and they were little, we would always have breakfast in bed for them. And then we'd say, oh, let's come out to the dining room so we can have breakfast with the rest of the family. And then their presents would be there. So that was just something that our kids grew up knowing, that they kind of knew it would happen, but it just made it special for them. And I always felt growing up that my birthday wasn't necessarily special. And so it was always just a really neat way that I thought we could honor our kids on their birthdays right as they woke up. So that's been a neat tradition. Now, as you can see behind me, and I'm kind of getting ready for the holidays here, we also have a tradition of doing a family Christmas card. So we've been doing this even before we had kids. When we were just a young couple starting out, we would have just a picture of us on maybe a trip that we had, or we live near the beach, so maybe we'd have a sunset picture. And, you don't have to have a family to send out a Christmas card. You have a life, you're important. And so whatever you're doing, please share it with the world. Share a trip you went on, share something fun, whatever it is that is important and special in your life, you should share that. And, with COVID, there have been some families that have had, unfortunately, some things happen where they are no longer a partner. So one family that it went through a divorce, she did something very unique. And she hired her wedding photographer to photograph her and her 2 kids. And that is their new Christmas card tradition. She said, even though my husband's not in the picture, we are still the family. And so this is a new tradition that she started with her 2 kids. Another thing is that, traditional Christmas cards, again, like I said, this wasn't something that I did growing up. And my mom would always get a Christmas card from a family in Texas. And I loved seeing how every year their daughter grew older and you could just see the passage of time. And I thought it was really neat to see this. So in my family, we've actually had some Christmas cards where the kids wrote in the cards when they were little. And so now those Christmas cards are in a book. I have a little book and one Christmas card from every year of our family's Christmas traditions. And it's great because it marks the passage of time. Not only can you see the kids getting older, but you can also see their handwriting getting better because sometimes we'd have them write on it. So that was kind of an unexpected fun thing that happened that I did not plan. I cannot take credit for it, but I realized that it marked the passage of time. And another thing is that as my mom gets older and she's living in an assisted living home, she's actually losing her eyesight and sometimes writing is very difficult for her. So for the past 2 years, something that I've been doing with her is taking her either somewhere special. For example, 2 years ago, we took her to Santa and she sat on Santa's lap and we made her Christmas card with Santa. And because her eyesight's getting difficult to see and read and write, basically I just had her verbally tell me what she wanted to write to her friends. And she sends these Christmas cards to Texas every year. So I said, Mom, just tell me what you want to write. And I'm going to write it for you in the card. And so when if you've ever done cards, you can actually add a written portion to it as well. So this is how we help my mom, and she's in her late 80s, stay in touch with all of her friends from her hometown in Texas. And she loves sending these cards out every year. So a new tradition for my mom, but yet something special for her. Something else that another family does is every Thanksgiving, they actually home make their Christmas cards. And I just love getting the cards from Chicago every year that I know that her family has sat down at the table after Thanksgiving dinner and that weekend, and they've made their cards together. So, and I think Karen McNamara does that too. She makes special cards every year. So if you haven't gotten one yet from her, I hope you do get one because they are very special. Now, one thing I'd like to ask is for you to unmute yourselves or raise your hand if you have a special family tradition that you would love to share with the group. And let's see if anyone's raising their hand. Ingrid, I'm not sure if you're raising your hand, but you are unmuted. Did you want to talk about a family tradition that you have? She might not be in the room. Karen, did you want to share? Because I love what you did with yours.
We always have cards we make personalized with pictures and a family letter. And I love collecting those. I hang them on the wall. So I send out over 200 cards and I usually get that many back. And so it just decorates the house. Our family at Christmas time always goes to church Christmas Eve. And then that evening we pick one gift that we open before Christmas. We can pick any gift we want from the tree and then we share that. And we also always save one favorite ornament that we each put on the tree ourselves. So those are fun. And I would say our stockings at Christmas have grown to be more and more powerful. bigger and more elaborate every year. And they really everyone looks forward to those because growing up, we always would open our stockings before our family before we started the Christmas day, kids could come downstairs and open the stockings, but nothing else.
Okay, so before everyone was up and opening presents, the kids were allowed to open their stockings?
Yes,
Oh, I love it. Then that let you sleep in.
it did. And then they would, when we came downstairs, they would show us everything that was in their stocking.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that. And when they were opening the one gift, could they choose it, or there were special ones placed under the tree?
They could choose which one they wanted.
Okay, I love that. That is
Now,
so cute.
sometimes they were disappointed because it was socks or underwear.
It wasn't the big one.
Yeah.
I love
And then I will share too a funny thing. My mother just turned 94 yesterday,
Oh,
and she had a tradition that happened because when I was young and my brother and I went to Santa and we sat on Santa's lap, Santa looked at my brother and said, "What is it that you would like?" And he looked at Santa very sadly and said, "I want a pair of socks without holes."
oh.
So you can imagine my mother, he never had a pair of socks without holes. So let me
Oh.
just say that every year my brother gets socks from my mother. And I'm sure that will happen this year too.
Yeah, I guess that's a good lesson, and be careful what you ask for, right?
Yeah.
I love that. Oh, I see Bettina has my Christmas card already. Karen, yours went in the mail, I think yesterday or the day before.
Yours will go tomorrow.
Love it. Well, you know, the
What a
hard
great
thing,
tradition.
the hard thing is that, you know, now that our family is all in different places around the world, if you notice on the front of the card, Bettina, we're missing one, as we were last year. So the front of the card this year is missing Jacqueline, who's in London. Although when we went to visit her, we did catch a picture with her, and that's on the back. So, you know, it's funny, but, you know, you just kind of have to morph with it, right? I don't know. It's tough as they grow up and they go away, but hopefully, you know, when they're all home for Christmas, then we'll be back to a full, loud, busy house with a big grocery bill, and we'll appreciate that because it's nice to have everybody again. When they've been gone, you know, you just get used to different things. My husband and I cook very differently now with the kids not here. Sometimes, you know, pancakes and eggs for dinner, or because it's not the same. You know, the kids aren't there asking you, "What's for dinner?" I don't know if you have that, Karen, because I know you've got multi-generations working in the family business, but I can't remember if you're all under the same household still.
No, we're not.
Because I know during COVID, you had quite a full house there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, right now it's just my husband and me most of the time, unless someone comes to visit.
Oh, I love it. Well, that's probably special, having that time there with him.
It is. It is.
I love it. I don't know if Bettina's back on. She's got herself on her stop picture for stop video, so she may have popped off for a second. But I was going to ask her, I know she's leaving for Texas tomorrow to see her son and daughter-in-law and granddaughter, so that's going to be so exciting.
Nice.
And are you guys doing anything, Karen, as a family for the holidays?
No, it keeps changing. Our daughter and her new husband were coming for Thanksgiving, and then they were coming for Christmas, and now they're coming for New Year's.
Oh.
It keeps shifting because of, you know, they're young and their work calls them back and says, "No, you can't have it off." You know?
Oh, that's so tough.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, I remember those days working in the hospital. That was always, you know, especially when I was single. "Oh, well, you don't have a family, you can work."
Yeah, they just kind of automatically put you in that role, whether or not you ask for it.
Exactly.
That is tough. And how is your family business going? Still 3 generations?
Well, we have 2 that are actively, you know, working, 2 generations actively working, but we often bring in the other generations into the mix. Yeah.
Right. I love it. That's so great that you're still doing that. That's really exciting.
It's a lot of fun. It really is.
It's just wonderful. It's so wonderful that you're, you know, you have been able to do that and take it into the next generation.
Yeah.
That's something that everybody can do. Whoops, hang on one second here. I'm not sure what happened here. There we go. Yeah, I'm going to be kind of hanging my own shingle and starting my own consulting business. And I think I will use the framework of financial advising to kind of organize it at first, and as a way to talk to people and, you know, help them organize things, and then see if they need help if they have a business. Because I have 30 years of running the operations in a laboratory, and picked up a lot of experience there. So I'm happy to try and share best practices with other people, entrepreneurs, and maybe, you know, if they don't have their succession plan set up, maybe help them understand the importance of that.
Oh, I
And
think that sounds great, because especially small businesses starting up, because they don't know what they don't know. And having your experience can really help them start out on the right track.
it's so true. And, you know, you feel bad when you hear examples of people that if you had that consulting opportunity, that you would have, you would have told them to watch out for this or that thing.
Exactly.
And so it's just, you know, it's hard to know who to reach out to. And sometimes you feel funny reaching out to friends. But my college roommate, her husband died this past year. He actually died of leukemia. It was pretty much latent for 12 years and then just kind of roared its head very quickly. And within 6 weeks, he was gone. So they had a family consulting business. She had left academia. She has a PhD in biology. She was a professor. She had left academia a few years ago to work in his business. And they thought they really had everything wrapped up. And the one thing that they didn't have, that I'm pretty sure I would have been the first question I would have asked, knowing how regulatory our business is in the laboratory, is, do you have your regulatory licenses? Do you have everything set up? Well, we never had this conversation. And it wasn't until I passed that we had the conversation. And I said, well, how's it going? Because I know you went to work in the business, so you're familiar with it. And she said, yes, that part's fine. The part that we didn't really know about was that the only one who had the license was Jim.
Oh.
And so they have, I think, 4 government contracts that they had to put on hold. And they have someone going through the classes. And then when they'll take the test and hopefully pass and get their license, then they'll be able to resume this work again. So it just, you know, my heart, because I know if I had thought to them, that would have been the first thing I would have asked, just because I came from such a regulatory environment.
Right.
And people do sometimes miss these things.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, like they had the succession part, which is amazing because that helped their business, and, you know, having her name on bank accounts and as co-owner and things like that. But that one little piece was missing. So I am hoping that I can jump into that field and slowly start to gain clients and, you know, just help people, because it is tough when someone passes away and you're mourning them. But yet, if you have a business that you're doing together, you have to figure out how to keep that business going and kind of put a stiff upper lip and put your emotions on the back burner while you're keeping the checks coming in for the family and, you know, keep the business. So,
well, you know, and it's so important because we think about, you know, people talk a lot about having wills and having, you know, things for your personal and your family, but you forget about the business needs to have that succession plan too.
Exactly. And so what did your family do to set all that up?
Well, we really didn't start the business until my son and I began it. We actually began the business as the first of the generations to begin it. So we're starting the generation business versus being further down the road.
And have you set up things, you know, in this way with succession planning, should something happen to, you know, either one of you?
We have for the two of us, but we haven't for moving further, you know, beyond that. You know, we talk about it, but I mean, what that might look like, but we have not actually put any specifics in place at this point. But, you know, we just did our annual review and our annual plan and all of that. So we were talking about that and just talking about it, you know, from the tax standpoint, and then from, you know, if we decide to consolidate or change or move, or, you know, what would that look like? So we we did our planning with that, but we don't have an actual succession plan at this point. So
Yeah.
you've got me thinking.
You know, if I can help you, sometimes it helps have an outside person to ask the questions that are uncomfortable. You know, it's like you don't, it's hard sometimes to delve into those. And, you know, obviously, since I'm a new business, I'm more looking for testimonials than dollars. So you could get me inexpensively.
There you go. Well, you know, it's interesting because, you know, my son and I get along really well, and you know, the process has gone very smoothly, but he's young and his life is changing dramatically, and, you know, wife and child and moving and dogs and, you know, all the things that come in his business change, and then COVID, all of those things. So as that took place, it was interesting how our conversations and our connections and communications became more challenged, you know, because all of a sudden his life became more important than anything else, and which was okay, except that always being last is not okay. You know, so we had to have some tough conversations around that, you know. And the other thing that's interesting with the younger generation is that they don't retain the same type of communication preference. They shift with the tide. So when I think I know how my son wants to communicate and I keep doing it, he's not responding, and I'm thinking, why? He's, oh yeah, well, I don't look at that anymore. I do it this way now. So very common in his generation, whereas, you know, my generation, we get one way we want to communicate, and that's the way we do it.
Right.
So it's been interesting.
Yeah. That is interesting. And what did it change from?
Pardon me?
What did it change from? He started off in what did he like to use as his communication method initially, and what it changed to?
Oh, he wanted text.
Okay.
So I would send him a text and then he wouldn't respond. And I'm like, well, the reason he wanted text was because it's always there. He's always got his phone. He can see it and then he can respond to it quickly, and he's got a documentation of it. So I'm like, okay, then why are you not responding? And it was because, well, I don't bother with that anymore. Now I want to have email as my document because it's easier to track in email than it is on text.
Oh, interesting.
Which is fine, but he didn't tell me that. So I said, that's the piece that's missing. I have a gap here.
About it, right? You have to tell them if your mode of communication has changed. That would be to know. But like you said,
you know, it's like my granddaughter is 2 now, and so we've been videoing her because they live in North Carolina, so, and I live in Washington, so we connect via technology. Well, initially it was Marco Polo, and then without any warning that went away, and then it became a chat thing that happens through Facebook, and then without warning that went away, and then they bought us an Alexa and said, well, that's how we want to communicate. And so then we did that, and well, then all of a sudden that went away. Like, and it's because they're changing based on technology and based on her physical movement. You know, like the Alexa didn't work because she couldn't take us with her.
Ah,
you know,
right.
so she needed the phone so she could, she said, Grandma, I'm going to take you with me. And then we walk. And she's learning how to make it so I can see what's happening too. You know, so it's interesting, but it's, I just get used to one way and I'm like, oh, don't change it again.
Or at least tell me if you're going to change it, please.
Yeah. Exactly. So,
I love it. I love it. That's great. Yeah, my mom's funny because she'll get on her phone and she'll put her phone like right here, and we just like, Mom, we're seeing your nostril. Can you turn the phone? You know, can you put it away from you? And
yeah,
it's pretty cute.
yeah.
I mean, we're being able to do it. You know, like I said, she Pastor 80's okay. We've got a 1-minute warning. Eric, Eric, you're not unmuted, but did you want to say anything, or are you just coming in to join the rest of the conversation as we get back to the big group?
Yeah, I just came in because I just got on and I'm still kind of moving around. So I'll get up to speed by listening and then jump in.
Yeah, no problem. We were this breakout was about creating family traditions. And so we mostly talked about Christmas cards, and all the different ways you can do them, no matter what kind of a family you have. So that was what our chat was about. And Bettina's back in. So I don't know if either one of you want to share any traditions. Doesn't have to be Christmas, but any traditions that you enjoyed growing up that you're doing now with your family, or could be vice versa, that you didn't like growing up that you chose not to do with your family.
I actually started a family tradition.
Yours.
That was, so years ago, maybe 25 years ago, our family stopped sharing gifts exchange.
Mhm.
And, we instead give to other people and this and that. And so I ended up deciding that I wanted to play a little differently here in my local family. And so I would give everybody, we'd all meet in a mall at a store that we all liked. And that would change from year to year. I'd give everybody $25 to shop in the store, and they couldn't go over the budget. That was the budget.
Okay.
So I would give, somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 or so between all the family members and some close friends. And then we'd go to lunch and we'd do a gift exchange.
Oh, fun.
The whole thing was that everybody actually was assigned someone to shop for, and it was
Okay.
random. And then they were to tell the person exactly what they wanted. They could even go and check it out and look at it with them. So everybody got exactly what they wanted. They all went for sales. And then if we shop, say at Macy's or something, then I was always getting the bucks that they give you, the 10%.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever, and I would get a gift myself. And
I
so it was so much fun that we've been doing this now for about 6 years.
I love it. That's so fun.
And by the way, it almost never went over $500 between
Wow.
lunch and the gift exchange. And it was just perfectly priced for those days when I first started it.
Idea. I mean, we've done the white elephant thing where people at work, but that's what we used to do, where we'd say, white elephant, don't buy anything, go into your closet, go into your whatever cabinet, bring something that maybe you don't like, but someone else will. And then we played the part of the game where you're able to steal it from someone. So we would allow 2 steals. And, then obviously if you steal, then you get to go to the center of the table and pick another present. So that was always fun at work, because then no one had to really, have an expense out of pocket, but it was just a nice way to have a fun camaraderie in the group. And as the phrase goes, one man's trash is another's treasure. We certainly saw that with the white elephant gift exchange. So that was another fun work tradition that we did.
Well, thank you so much, Mia, for your topic.